What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. West Ham won, Tottenham won in probably the most forgettable London derby, particularly between Spurs and West Ham, that we could ever probably imagine. Both teams, nothing to play for. 15th versus 16th on the day in the Premier League.
Wasn't it 16th versus 17th? Please.
16th, all right. 16th versus 17th in the league. And yeah, I think both teams pretty much played out the game as pretty much the importance that was riding on it, to be honest. People were dubbing it the El Crapico before the game. They were calling it a mid-off, and that's exactly the way it kind of panned out. You know, Spurs made a host of changes coming into it. Me and Ash were here on the watch-along, just completely struggling to get through it. You were there at the London Stadium. Like, tell us about, what was it as kind of hard to go through in the studio as it was in the stands?
Pretty much. When I got to the stadium, I was sitting just next to someone I didn't know, but I was talking to him and I just said, this is just another game we're going to have to get through, isn't it? This is just like a game, like, just, we're here, but no one's excited to watch. He's like, yeah, whatever happens, we're just have to get through this performance because we know that we're probably not going to win, probably not going to play well. No one's really going to care. And that's pretty much like what happened during the game. I felt there were times in the game, both teams were just really sloppily giving the ball away, but there was no reaction from the team or anything. Like, it was just like, who cares? Like, whatever.
Usually, right, when Spurs play West Ham, even if when there's nothing riding on it, particularly when you go there, the fans are bang up for it. What was like the West Ham fans kind of reaction to the game? Was there no atmosphere whatsoever?
It was very flat, very quiet. Yeah, when a few tackles went in, it got the crowd up a bit, but I don't remember any chanting. You had obviously the bubbles,
the bubbles
at the start of the game, and you know that. I think maybe they went into the game thinking, all right, we're going to be up for it, but it never really materialized, especially after we took an early lead. It was like that really quieted them down. It weren't exactly loud. The Tottenham fans at times were decent. I felt there was a lot of chance of we're on our way to Bilbao. I think that was most of the chanting was that song, and I think that was probably emblematic of where our head's at the moment. Is definitely concentrating on Thursday and making sure we get through to Bilbao. Yeah. There was a few chants of there's going to be no bubbles in Bilbao. And what else was there? You sold your soul for this shithole, you know, that classic. But other than that, there was, you know, especially after we conceded, it was just very quiet, and it was like both sets of fans just didn't want to be there. Everyone groaned when stoppage time was announced. Just like, just like end the game. Like, no one wants to be here. Just stop this like useless 90 minutes of football that we're watching. Like it was just a very tired watch, really, I think, from both sets of fans, and especially that second half, just very little happened on either end. Yeah. No good football was really being played. The only real excitement we got, in fact, there were chances for Mikey Moore even as early as like the 50th minute. I think he came on what, the 65th maybe. There were chances for him to come on. I think would just maybe give us something to be excited about, seeing Mikey Moore come on, which obviously he did, and he was quite good. But it was... yeah, it was just, I felt like after the game, I felt like that was just a complete waste of time, basically.
Yeah, and it feels like this with every Premier League game, right? Like, and it's getting worse and worse as it gets deeper into the season, which is, you know, you expect it to happen because of, you know, we've got a massive game on Thursday. The games get bigger and bigger in the Europa League and whatever. And I was saying to Ash in the studio, like, just to give the fans a bit of excitement, like what you just mentioned, why not start Mikey Moore in this game? Because like the fans are craving to see him. The fans are craving to see one of our own break through. So excited about Mikey Moore. So in terms of like the fans getting invested in the game, surely a Mikey Moore is probably the only thing that gets the fans invested in this game.
Yeah, but they're not. Then I don't think Ange puts out a lineup to get the fans invested. He goes out a lineup that is best for the team, and that's what he decides. I think when it comes to like obviously his positions have been taken up yesterday by Tell and Odebear, and I guess they need the game time. I think when it comes to Tell, the more he plays, the better he's getting. So I think you want to get him on the pitch a bit more, especially ahead of Thursday, where he might well be starting. You want to get him on that pitch and get him confident, and I think that's understandable. Odebear has been in and out of the team. I think he's shown flashes of bit of good stuff, but again, he needs the game time. But I guess you could argue Moore needs the game time as well. But he did play all three, so I understand. I understand that you want more to start, and I want more to start as well. But I also understand the need to start Tell and Odegaard as well.
At least we did see him for 20 minutes, and I thought it was a bright cameo for him, which we'll get into a bit later. But in terms of the starting lineup, was there anything that surprised you? It was Vicario, Gray, Danso, Davis, Spence, Bissouma, Sarr, Decky, Odegaard, Tell, Richarlison. Was there any surprises there for you?
From the lineup we predicted, the only difference was we went for Porro and Gray in midfield, and they put Bissouma there and put Gray at right back. So not really a surprise, really. I think it was fair. Actually, we went for Kinski. That was the only other one, which didn't happen. Maybe he would have saved the goal, but we'll get into that. I think the lineup was right considering the magnitude of the game on Thursday. Makes sense.
And pretty much the first half, like you say, the second half was dull. I mean, the first half was just as dull, apart from there was 2 chances either end, and 2 poor sets of defending. The first goal from Spurs, finally Vicario lumps it forward, and it forces a mistake out of the West Ham backline. Tell capitalising on it with some good kind of pressing there. He plays a really nice ball into Odegaard. It was like Richarlison kind of dummied over it, and it fell to Odegaard at the back post, and Odegaard was just like had acres of space. He could probably stand on the ball for a good like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, pick where he wants to go, and it was a nice finish. He didn't hold on to it for that long, but I'm just saying he could have done it if he really wanted to. He had that much space.
First Premier League goal.
Is that his first Premier League goal? Wow, I didn't even realise that at the time.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, good stuff. It was a nice finish. It was a nice goal overall, and I think when you're looking at who was Spurs' the most dangerous player for Spurs on the day, it was definitely Tell. I mean, Tell was causing, I wouldn't say all sorts of problems because we didn't cause that many problems on the day, but I thought if anything was going to happen, it was always going to be through Tell.
Yeah, I think he was the one who looked most threatening. I think there was a couple of times he got in behind, and he was the one really stretching West Ham and looking to get into dangerous areas. Unfortunately, a lot of the times he did get into those areas. The finishing was a bit weak, and didn't make the most of a lot of those opportunities. Some of his crosses across the face of goal just were cut out, didn't really make their mark. But obviously he did get an assist after good kind of work to put Max Kilman off when he was closing him down. Although I'm watching the replay, obviously I'm saying he does very well to close him down, and he does very well to force a mistake. But in terms of the pass to Odegaard, I'm watching the replay, and he passes it across the face of goal, and it only misses Richarlison by an inch, and then it falls to Odegaard behind him. And what you see when in the replay is once it goes past Richarlison, Tell does this, like with his hands on his head, and then it gets to Odegaard and he calms down a bit. So I do have a feeling he was aiming for Richarlison and just kind of maybe overhit it a bit, and maybe he didn't even see Odegaard behind him. But either way, he'll claim the assist, and credit to him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
And there was another really nice pass in there from Odegaard. I think it was in the first half that found Richarlison one-on-one with the keeper. And
that was complete.
Really good pass from Tell in that moment of time. He definitely meant that, that's for sure.
Was it a cross or a shot from Rishi? Because he kind of just drags it across the face, doesn't it?
It was definite shot.
A
definite shot. And I don't understand, like, a real killer there dinks it over the keeper. I know it would have been a hard effort to do, but I think a real killer there, like we saw last week with Johan Wissa against Nottingham Forest, a chance in a similar area. He dinks it over the keeper with a really clinical finish, and I think that's what a killer would do in that moment in time. And I think that's just Richarlison, isn't it? He needs about.
I don't think I've ever seen him dink a ball ever.
No, never. And he needs about 4 or 5 chances to score a goal, and that was his best chance of the game. And he just fluffed his lines a little bit.
Yeah, that was one of the few moments. Obviously, we did get him behind and creating out a real decent opportunity. We had one similar, I felt, in the second half where I think it was Tell plays Spence down that left-hand side. Or it was Mikey Moore, I can't remember. I think it was Tell because he gets to the byline, but he really could have driven infield and shot, and so instead he looked for Richarlison at the back post, and it was very telegraphed. And Cresswell was just there waiting to clear the ball, where he had a lot of space to run inside and could have easily shot, and probably would have been a better opportunity. But I think we had a couple of those kind of moments where better decision making or a more clinical kind of action, and it would have forced a much better opportunity. But the decisions we were making kind of just meant that the moves kept breaking down.
Yeah. And then obviously we take the lead, right? 10 minutes later, it's back to level pegging. Jared Bowen scores. And I thought it was really poor from everyone, to be honest. I thought Davis doesn't cover himself in too much glory from there. Spence as well, probably, lost his man. And but the reality is the goalkeeper's got to be doing a lot better from that situation. He's at his near post. It's at a really tight angle. Vicario opens up his body so wide. But Jarrod Bowen only had one option, but to put it through his legs. And
well, to be fair, that's probably what goalkeepers are taught, to make yourself big, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess. But you can't let it to be so easy to get it through your legs.
No, I agree. It was weak, I felt, from him, and which is a bit of a concern, because I've always said, up until a month ago, in terms of goals that Vicario has conceded, where I really felt like he should be saving, I can't think of too many, but recently there has been quite a few now that he definitely should be saving. The first one against Wolves, I think I guess not the Liverpool one, but there was another game, Forest, a couple against Forest, and now this game where I think Bowen has first of all, Bowen does have all the time in the world to kind of pick his spot, which, someone should be closing him down and making sure that the shot doesn't, he has a bit more pressure on the shot, so he rushes it and doesn't, get the best contact on it. But I think Vicario, he's at his near post, and he just you shouldn't allow him to score your near post like that. And it just basically goes right through him, and he should be doing a lot better. The only sympathy I had is Bowen was quite close to him, so the reaction time, he didn't have a lot of time to react. But I think most top keepers in that position are making the save.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, it goes in 1-1 at half time. You can't really disagree that it was probably a fair reflection of the game. Probably 0-0 was probably more of a fair reflection of the game. Just to basically, that's all that happened in that first half. Apart from stop-start fouls, pretty much that was happening the whole game. Paqueta involved in a lot, Danso involved in a lot, Fulkrig involved in a lot in terms of fouls, but there was just nothing in that game, was there?
Very, very. I bet Fulkrig, went in on the team at halftime for what was going on, because it didn't feel like a derby. It felt like a pre-season friendly. That's what it felt like, really. And
well, actually, the pre-season friendly that we played against West Ham was
probably
that.
Probably a better game. You're probably right about that. I think that ended 3-2, didn't it? It's hard to talk too much about the game, because really very little was going on. I thought we were keeping them at arm's length. They had very little opportunities to score off the top of my head. I think Kudus wasn't very involved in the game, Paqueta wasn't, and then us going forward, doing very little. Really not much to shout about, apart from maybe Tell looking bright. That was really it. Like the midfield, Decky wasn't really doing much. Basuma at times was blowing hot and cold. Some stuff he was doing good, but other times giving the ball away very sloppily. Sarr, a bit anonymous. It was just, it's hard to say, it's hard to go into more detail about the game, because it was just such a nothing game.
I would say, we gave Vicario a bit of stick, but I would say that save towards the end from Bowen's header, I thought that was a top save.
Yeah, he made up for it. Yeah. Made up for the goal, because it was that was a good save. Credit to him.
Because, at that moment in time, late in the game, Spurs ain't coming back from that if we go 2-1 down. So you would say he probably helped us get that draw, that's for sure. But then he was the reason why we went to 1-1. So yeah, it's hard to really, assess Vicario's performance, because it was very up and down. But
that's all he had to do as well. That save, pretty much. That's the only thing he had to do apart from the goal.
Well, I'm looking at, in terms of the stats, West Ham had 2 big chances in the day, and those 2 were the big chances. They had 2 shots on target. Those 2 were the 2 shots on target, and as well as us, we had 2 shots on target. I don't remember the second one.
It was just a weak effort from Tell.
Oh, that's the one you were talking about before. Yeah. So look, 18 fouls for West Ham and 15 fouls for Tottenham. I think that's pretty much told the story of the game.
It was a very stop-start game for sure. But it didn't feel like these fouls were full-blooded challenges. It was kind of just little tactical fouls, little trips, holding. I think Richarlison was kind of being kicked out the game a bit from Tillman and Tolibo at times. We were playing the ball into him a lot, and he was just consistently getting fouled. And that was quite frustrating, because, an early booking, and that maybe stopped. But the referee didn't want to protect him, and he ends up going off. I think it was the right thing to take him off, even though I think the team suffered for it. in terms of him not being there. Obviously, Mikey Moore coming on was a positive, but I think we need to protect him ahead of Thursday when Solanke might not be fit, and we're definitely going to need him as well. With Son potentially not being fit as well, we could have a job to play on the left as well. So I think to protect him for Thursday was the right decision. So I think we took him off.
Particularly with the injuries that we keep getting now. Maddison out, looks like for the end of the season. They're saying it could be an MCL, which could keep him out to 2 to 3 months. Obviously Bergvall out for the rest of the season. He's out for a sustained amount of time, so we just can't afford any more injuries going into Thursday and potentially a European final.
Yeah, exactly. So I think any hint of a problem, you got to protect our players right now. But then obviously once Tell moved up front, he didn't do much, but what it did mean is Mikey Moore came on off the left hand side for 25 minutes, and I thought he did look really bright. It was really great to see him. When was the last time he actually played?
Long time ago.
When was the last time Mikey Moore actually got game time? Because it feels like it's a while ago.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. But like what he did do, Mikey Moore, he just kept asking questions. And that's what we needed. Someone that actually looked like they wanted to be on that pitch.
Had a bit of drive about him. He got the ball. He was, yes, he didn't consistently beat his man. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka was on that side. So it's not an easy opponent, especially when taking...
he played, well, it's a long... He hasn't played this year, I don't think.
He must. He played against because he scored against Elfsborg.
I think that was his last appearance.
What, in January?
He didn't play in February, I don't think. Well, the thing doesn't go back before Ipswich, so I can't see it. But look, he kept asking questions, and the West Ham players didn't know how to deal with him at times. Paqueta had to drag him down. He brought a foul or a handball off Thomas Souček when he breezed past him. So I mean, these are proper men. You know what I mean? Aggressive men in terms of Paqueta and Souček, who are like two of the most aggressive players in the Premier League, and he's bypassing them like it's nobody's business. So I thought Mikey Moore, look, I don't think he was like brilliant, because I don't think he had too much of he didn't do too much in terms of hurt the opposition, but what he did do was excite the fans a little bit and was very direct, and he was just looked like he wanted to be there.
For last appearance since Villa in the FA Cup in February.
Right, okay.
I agree. And I think what I actually think the most impressive thing about Mikey when he came on was his link-up play with Spence.
Yeah.
I think Spence was all of a sudden getting all sorts of joy down that left-hand side.
He was alive, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was kind of getting to the byline, getting into the box. And I think he was... I don't know whether he felt the responsibility to help Mikey more than Tell, or the fact that it was, I think a lot of it came from Mikey, little passes in field to him and setting him on his way, whereas maybe Tell wasn't doing that as much with Spence. I think either way, Mikey and Spence developed quite a nice relationship down that left-hand side, and I think
straight away.
Yeah, and I think he looked so much more lively, because that right-hand side was doing nothing. Gray and Odebear were doing absolutely nothing down that right-hand side, and any kind of threat we were having was all down the left, and I think a lot of it was down to how Spence and Mikey were attacking that side. The only bad thing about it was he had that corner which went straight into the side netting, which wasn't great.
It was funny, that moment, because when you were watching it on TV, it looked like it was going into a dangerous area, and then it just went straight into the side netting. So as soon as he hit it, I was like, "Oh, go on, Mikey, really good corner." And Ashmatic goes, "Is it?"
It's a great corner. What are you talking about? Hit the net, didn't it?
But yeah, look, Mikey was definitely a bright spot. And the thing is with Spence, like before Mikey came on, Spence was pretty much playing how the fans were feeling watching the game. I thought he was poor, Spence. Really lazy and lethargic performance from him. But then as soon as Mikey came on, something just flipped in him, and he just started going on these marauding runs and overlapping Mikey and look, good link-up play, like you said. So that was pretty much the only excitement, apart from the goal that we scored in the game. Yeah,
and even from either side in that late in the game, in terms of, I think we probably looked most likely to get a winner, but then obviously West Ham probably had the best chance with that header from a Ward-Prowse free kick, which I think a little touch from Bowen, which Vicario had to make a really good save from. Obviously, Ward-Prowse does have that free kick right at the end of the game, which was right in Ward-Prowse territory, but he didn't kind of it was a decent effort, but it didn't get it on target. And it just petered out, As I said, they announced 4 minutes of stoppage time, and I was like, oh, just get it over with. Like, no one wants to sit through another 4 minutes of this. And even full time, I barely even heard the whistle. It just ended, and everyone was like, yeah, let's go. And the only sort of the best bit, one of the best bits of the game, probably of the day, I should say, is after the game, the walking to the station and all the Spurs fans chanting "We're on our way to Bilbao," and that was quite nice, and that was quite loud, and obviously he was trying to rattle some of the West Ham fans who were walking back to the station as well, and there was a bit of a give and take there between the West Ham fans and Spurs fans, should I say? But I think that was a nice moment, but. It was just it just felt like a day we just had to get through. It just felt like a game that we had to sit through and just, we had to wait for Thursday where we got bigger fish to fry. We got things to attack.
Got bigger fish to fry. I told you, don't say that.
I keep forgetting, but it's a common saying. Robbie didn't invent that saying, okay? He doesn't have a monopoly on that. What's it called? So I think...
You just know if we lose, you're going to get clipped up and sliced up and that's it. You're putting a jinx on us.
Yeah, we'll see about it. We better not lose. Yeah, but I guess from Tottenham's point of view, at least we have an excuse of we got a big European game on Thursday. I don't know. West Ham don't really have an excuse for putting in such a...
Well, that's what they've been doing all season. That's just West Ham. And look, it was nice for Graham Potter, though, to wish us the best of luck and to say he hopes that we're going into the final. Very nice of Graham Potter, wasn't it?
We'll win it for him.
We'll do it for you, Graham.
We'll do it for him.
But yeah, Archie Gray again. I thought Archie wasn't great. I thought he came under a lot of pressure from Mohamed Kudus. Look, when you put Archie Gray up against Kudus, very physical, one of the best, if not the best dribbler in the league. He's always going to be found wanting, in my opinion, particularly in right back, which a position which doesn't really suit him. But he did get on the ball and show something a little bit, a few times.
Well, I felt like he didn't have a great game. I don't think he was getting beaten consistently, but there was a couple of times definitely that, I remember a couple crosses Kudus put in. I think Fulkrug had a header, which he put over the bar, and they had a couple of crosses which went into the box, but nothing happened from it. I think in the first half, I actually thought he dealt with Kudus pretty comfortably. Second half, Kudus started to get some joy out of him. On the ball, he had like one or two moments where he was striding into midfield and progressing the ball. I felt by and large actually on the ball still a bit nervy maybe. I don't know, it just wasn't his most confident self like he was maybe near the start of season when he was performing. But just a bit out of sorts I feel for Archie at the moment. Whether it's... Well, he seems he is playing regularly at the moment in the Premier League, but maybe it's because he's with the B team at the moment or whatever, but he just the performances aren't great from him. It's kind of very average. I wouldn't say he had a stinker. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he was terrible, but Archie near the beginning of the season, he was just showing these really nice bits of composure on the ball and willingness to progress the ball. Those little passes into feet and good quality. And at the moment, it just seems as though when he gets the ball, he's just lumping it forward aimlessly, and he's not doing much. He's not having those strides forward as often as he was. And defensively, look, I think he was okay yesterday, but I think we've seen better from him. So, he's not in the best of form at the moment.
And one that's really starting to worry me a little bit is Kulusevski, because with Maddison out now, Bergvall out now, Kulusevski is going to be absolutely vital for us in this game on Thursday and hopefully beyond as well in Bilbao. So he's just not I feel like he's getting pushed off the ball too easily. He's not being creative enough in terms of, how he was those first 10 games of the season, consistently driving forward, creating chances, getting goal contributions. He's just like a shadow of that player at the moment. And, is it him still coming back from injury? Is he not fully fit yet? Is he just off form? Ashmatic said on the watch along yesterday, it's probably a bit of both, but I don't know. We need him at his best on Thursday, and he doesn't seem anywhere near that just yet.
Yeah, I do wonder as well the fact that he's only really started in games which are irrelevant games, isn't he? He hasn't started any of the Europa games, has he?
No.
So I know he's come on in the Europa and still not been amazing, but I feel like maybe he needs that pressure of something riding on it, because at the moment he's playing in these games, no one really cares, and maybe he's getting sung down to that level, even though we know he's a player supposedly, or he consistently says he's got, a winner's mentality, this different mentality, and he's a very good talker. But maybe it's hard to get your toes up for these games when no one else is at the moment.
But you would expect, for being out for so long, you would think, he would just hit the ground running when he comes back. But I guess, it must be hard. A slow burner, isn't it?
First of all, that is a point as well, the fact that he has come back from injury, and that might be, it's not not necessarily going to be back to his best immediately. But as well, he's come back from injury. He's getting bits and pieces of these games, which are just so irrelevant. And it's almost as like...
But it's not, because he's come in the Europa League games, like you said, and not been great.
I think he's been a bit better in those Europa games, to be honest, than I saw yesterday, and in the Premier League games. But still, you're right. He's definitely not his best in the Europa games either. But maybe come Thursday, we know he's going to start. I'm pretty sure anyway, unless he goes Benson, Basuma and Sarr, which he has done in some big away games with.
It's not been great.
And it's not been great, so I hope he doesn't. But we know he's going to start, so maybe, with the magnitude of the game, which is happening on Thursday, maybe he'll take that opportunity to finally find his best form. But you're right. I mean, if you take into account the fact that before his injury he wasn't in great form, then he got injured, and now he's come back from his injury and still not in great form. Until we start seeing the Kulusevski like we did early in the season, people are going to talk about it. That's the reality, because he was so good and he was playing at such a high level. That's the kind of standard he set. And now we're seeing these kind of performances where they're lackluster. He doesn't look as strong as he was for one reason or another. He was so good at shielding the ball and pushing players off the ball, and now all of a sudden it seems as though that's changed. And it feels as though as well, like, because he was so good at shielding the ball earlier in the season, like when he was hanging on to the ball for too long, it wasn't a problem because he could shield it and he could then bring other players into play. But now it is becoming a problem that he's hanging on to the ball, and it seems as though right now he's getting the ball into feet, and then whereas maybe earlier in the season he would hang on to it and then shove someone off and then pass it out wide, now he's just hanging on to it and losing it. Whereas if he'd played the ball quicker, like we could progress the ball, but because he's so used to hanging on to the ball, because he relies on his physical traits, that it's meant that at the moment it seems like he hasn't adjusted to that, and that's a big problem at the moment.
Yeah, I just think like basically he's probably been, during his time out injured, his wife's been feeding him too much.
Feeding him?
Yeah, he needs to be
too
famished.
hungry.
He needs to be hungry going into that game on Thursday, so he
should be famished.
You know what I mean? Give him. Just Mrs. Kulusevski, just don't give him too much food this week. Let him be hungry. He needs to go into this game starving.
He needs to eat on Thursday.
Exactly. He'll eat. All his eating will be done on the pitch on Thursday. Let's hope for that. But the last player I want to talk about is Kevin Danso, because I thought Danso in the second half, the ball kept coming over and he was so dominant in the air, battering away, so physical. He really did a service for the team in that second half, because I think without him, I think West Ham probably would have won. But his passing out the back was frustrating me a lot. But his aerial ability is second to none in that back line.
Yeah, I think he was probably our best player, one of our best players on the day overall. I really liked his performance by and large. I think Fulkrug had very little against him. I think what I like about him is he seeks opportunities to win the ball. He doesn't just wait for moments. He's very proactive. He's a really proactive defender as well. He's not scared to step into midfield. He's not scared to go into the final third. If he sees space, he'll go for it, and he's quite confident in that kind of aspect. And I think it was a pretty good performance from him overall. There's just a common pattern I've seen with Danso, which is starting to quite frustrate me quite a bit, and it's something that, first of all, shouldn't really be happening this consistently. It's something he should really be working on. And it seems as though it's a consistent problem that he's personally not working on. That's so when he steps into midfield and he'll look really good. He'll like do a little shimmy, break into space, and even yesterday there was one moment in the second half he was like in the number 10 area. And he gets the ball. He looks like he's going to pass out wide, and he shimmies it he does a little shimmy and bursts into the space, like outside the box. And you're like, wow, look at that, being confident. And then he'll just smack the pass out of play. Yeah. He'll just overhit the pass and ruin the opportunity. And that's something that I've noticed with Dan. So his weight of pass is very bad. He's a progressive passer, and when it's on point and when it's accurate, he does kind of fire it into feet, and it gets us up the pitch very quickly, and it can look quite good. But more often than not, it's not very accurate, and the weight of pass is just way too strong. And if he just put a bit of finesse on it and just, calmed himself down, I think all of a sudden, like he could go to another level on the ball, and he would be seen as a very much better player when it comes to his passing ability. But right now, I think even if you look at his stats, I think it shows. I think he had like something like 71%,
72. Yeah,
that's not good for a centre back. It should be in the 80s and 90s. Your pass completion rate, especially when you're in a position where you're supposed to be playing it safe a lot of the time. 71% is really poor for a centre back. So I think that is something he's just got to work on, because I think he kind of does the hard part, right? Well, the hard part is usually getting past people and breaking into space. That's the part that takes confidence, and you need your physical traits to do that. And then just make sure you get the pass right. That should be your bread and butter. You're a professional footballer. You should be able to not consistently overhit your passes. And yeah, he's doing that consistently. So that is something he really needs to work on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But in terms of the aerial ability that I was talking about before, I mean, 7 aerial duels contested for 6-1. So very strong in that aspect. And I think the majority of those must have come in the second half. But look, that is our match review. I can't believe we actually spoke about that for half an hour, that game, but we managed to get half an hour match review out there for you. But
And we didn't lose.
Yeah, finally.
We didn't lose, which what would have been 5 in a row if we would have lost, was it? Or we stopped it being 5 in a row, I guess, didn't we?
Would that have been 5 in a row losses?
It would have been 4 in a row.
Because we just beat Southampton.
That's right. Would have been 4 in a row in the Premier League. So it's 13th in sight. Is that what we're saying?
We'll see about
3
that.
points behind.
Look, what we're saying is all roads lead to BODO. That's the main thing. That's where our focus should be, and that's where our focus was before this game anyway. And it's a big, big night on Thursday night, and let's hope that we can dust ourselves down from these poor Premier League performances.
I'll take a 1-1 draw on Thursday, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I would. I'll take a 2-1 loss right now. Anything but basically a 1-goal loss I'll take off your hands right now in BODO. But look, let's hope we can go there with some sort of confidence taken from the Europa League run and go into the final into Bilbao. But that is our match review. Let's move on to player ratings, and let's start off with Vicario. 5s all round for Big Vic. I mean, not much in there for Big Vic. He 2 shots on target for West Ham. 1 was a sloppy error from him, let it go through his legs. The second one was a really good save with a one-handed save from the Bowen header. Apart from that, I thought his playing out the back was frightening the hell out of me, to be honest. But yeah, not much in it apart from that.
Yeah, wasn't great again, to be fair, I have to say. I don't think he had a massive stinker like he did against Forest and Wolves and maybe Liverpool, but I think wasn't much better either. It wasn't like he was a return to form. He did make 1 great save, but I think other than that, the goal we conceded has to be doing better with it. Very weak, getting beaten in your near post. And as you say, I thought, again, Big getting put under pressure when he's passing and he passes out of play too much and he makes mistakes. And I think happened again yesterday. So still quite worrying, I have to say.
Yeah. Archie Gray, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. I felt like with Archie, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to see him at right back. I thought he would have persisted with him in midfield. But, you know, he had a big task on his hands coming up against Mohamed Kudus. And I thought, you know, as the game wore on, he was struggling more and more. There are a couple of nice moments that we saw him driving in midfield, good dribbling ability on show. I felt like his passing out the back, you know, his long passes was wayward for the most part. But yeah, I thought it was, you know, it was better than what we saw at Liverpool from him in midfield, but still not great.
Yeah, I think at times in the first half he was competing well up against Kudus, but it's just not the kind of very confident, composed Archie we saw earlier in the season. He's kind of playing within himself. I felt on the ball way too often. He's kind of just passing it forward aimlessly with very little kind of composure. We don't really see those charges forward as much as we used to as well from him. And defensively, I think by and large, I think he had a fine game against Kudus by and large, but definitely a couple of moments, especially in the second half, where Kudus had the beating of him, and we got lucky he just didn't make the most of it. But look, it didn't have a stinker, but it just, you know, wasn't great.
Kevin Danso up next. Him gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Definitely our strongest player in the back line over the course of the 90 minutes, that's for sure. I thought aerially dominant, really physical, was good to see against, you know, a pretty physical Fulkrig and West Ham front line. You've got to say that. I just was really frustrated with his playing out the back, because there was a number of times where when we play out the back, you know, you need to get it right from the defence moving into the midfield, and I thought more times than not he got it wrong.
Yeah, I think probably our best player on the day, I would say, and I think he was kind of at times kind of the one in that back line, just being very proactive, looking to win the ball back, looking to get Tottenham on the front foot, and I think he was doing quite a good job in a lot of those aspects, but on the ball, just getting his... I think there were some good passes. I remember a few directly into Richarlison's feet, which he did get right. But again, he just has this tendency to overhit his passes consistently, and that is a really frustrating thing to happen, especially when you're a player like Danso, who's not afraid to step into midfield. He's not afraid to attack the space. And when he does the hard part, getting into those areas, and then he'll just overhit his pass and go straight out of play, and all that good work comes undone. So he needs to be doing better in those moments.
Jed Spence up next. Him gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I mean, with Jed, I felt for the opening 70 minutes of the game, it just felt like he didn't want to be there. I don't know what it was. It was just a bit of a lazy attitude, a bit lethargic from him. Defensively, I thought, you know, he's got to be doing better for the goal that we conceded. Not aggressive enough as well. I don't think he was winning his duels on the day. But when Mikey Moore came on, he definitely came to life and definitely improved, and you started seeing marauding down that left-hand side and some really good link-up with Mikey. But for the first 70, I was actually really disappointed with him.
Yeah, I don't think it was a great game from him for a lot of it. I think, yeah, the goal should be closing down should be closing down Wan-Bissaka, just allowing Wan-Bissaka all the time in the world to kind of play it through to Jarrod Bowen, who obviously got the goal. And yeah, I think at times in that first half, he had the ball and he was surrounded by a few West Ham players, and he didn't do a great job clearing it or dealing with that situation. So, and also wasn't really getting forward too much, wasn't linking up with Tell too much. I did think in the second half it was a lot better overall, even before Mikey came on, but especially after Mikey came on. Much more of a threat, getting into much better areas, and he was unfortunate that... well, I guess he's partly to blame as well, because I think his delivery could have been a bit better, but I think he was unfortunate that, considering a lot of the positions he took up, didn't make the most out of them. And I thought they struggled to contain him at times in that second half. So much better second half, and linked up really well with Mikey Moore. So yeah, I gave him a 6.
Ben Davis, Tim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Again, like, for the goal, he was really poor, Ben, and he's got to be doing better. But apart from that, you know, defensively, he was okay. But again, like, his ability on the ball was just really limited, and he was just losing the ball consistently. A bit similar to Danso. So yeah, look, there's not much in there to talk about from Ben Davis, but it was okay.
Yeah, I think it was an average performance again. But as you say, the goal, got to be tracking Bowen, got to be making sure you're making it hard for him and not giving him all that time to score. But I think overall dealt with most of what came his way. I don't think he was as proactive as Danso was, but I think maybe that was by design. But yeah, I think it was just average.
Pape, 5s all round for Pape Matar Sarr. Again, like, it's pretty much copy and paste for Sarr's performances over the recent months, well, pretty much all season, where a lot of energy in the midfield with not doing really too much with it. I felt in the first half he was pretty much anonymous. I did think he improved a little bit in the second half, and he did have that shot. Someone had to take a shot and ask some sort of question. Obviously, it went wide, but yeah, I am starting to worry a bit with Sarr, because he's really had a bad season.
I think, yeah, first half, he was pretty anonymous, didn't really do much, and was kind of just a bit of a passenger. But I felt second half he was a bit better. He was starting to win a few challenges in better areas, and he was starting to get a lot more involved. And I think he was doing a lot better job for the team in that second half. So don't think it was amazing, but it was decent. And that effort was, yeah, just whisked over the bar, didn't it? It was a decent effort. But yeah, it wasn't exactly a great performance from him, it's fair to say. And yeah, he hasn't been in great form.
Yeah, Bissouma up next. He was probably our best in the midfield 3. Still not great, though. 6s all round from him. Very up and down performance. Was losing the ball in silly situations. But then again, he was the one that was kind of getting the ball on the half turn and driving a little bit and being a bit more aggressive than maybe what Pape was in the middle. So yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I think some good moments defensively, some decent covering, but I think on the ball, it's very sloppy a lot of the time. Just when the ball comes to him, he's just passing it astray, and you don't really see any real reaction. And yeah, it's just quite frustrating. But I think off the ball, I thought that I saw some good stuff from him.
Dejan Kulusevski up next, 5s all round for Decky. And yeah, it wasn't a great performance from an offensive point of view, but I felt like he was getting himself involved in a lot of duels and fouls and scraps on the pitch. You know, the stats say he contested 20 ground duels, and that's like, we haven't seen that with Decky for a long time, because we saw at the tail end just before his injury, we noticed it, didn't we? And we kept saying, look, this ain't Decky if he ain't getting himself involved in like 20 plus duels. He definitely did that in this game. He brought 5 fouls on the day. He also gave away 4 fouls on the day. So he was definitely getting himself in and amongst it, and in terms of the stop-start nature of the game. But I want to see more from Decky in terms of from an offensive point of view, because I don't think he impacted much at all.
Yeah, it's hard to really analyse the game apart from saying he was just not great, both on and off the ball. Like, and again, I think there were moments where he protected the ball quite well, but a lot of moments where he was just hanging on to it way too long, and giving the ball away and being shoved off the ball. And when he gets into the final third, at the beginning of the season, he was making much better decisions about what to do and better execution. Right now, he's doing very little. He's not creating many chances. He's not creating for his teammates. He's not getting shots on goal. It's not great from him.
Do you think it's the decision making or more the execution? Because you mentioned both there, but I think it's more the execution, because I feel like he's picking up the ball in kind of decent areas at times, but his touch is just letting him down so often. There was one moment where, you know, he picked the ball up on the edge of their area, and he kind of, you know, was in a really good position, 1-on-1 with his defender, and he kind of just takes this horrible, horrible touch where if he gets that touch right, he's probably in on goal. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, the old touch used to be so good.
Yeah, but also, and I think the execution's a problem, but I also think he's making bad decisions, waiting on the ball too long on these different things. And he's got to be... Look, if he's not able to hang on to the ball as well as he could, he's got to be releasing it quicker, and he's got to be making a better decision. And as well, in and around the box, there are times he could pass and he tries to shoot, and vice versa. And I just feel like he's just not in a good space at the moment, Decky.
Yeah, and we need to get him there very quickly with this big game coming up on Thursday. Next up is Matisse Tell. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I thought he looked like our biggest threat. Our best 2 chances of the game both came through him. Obviously, the first one with the assist. Obviously, you mentioned in the review, he didn't mean it to get to Odebear. I didn't notice that during the game. So it was a nice pass for me, and found Odebear in acres of space at the back post. The second one with a really nice pass to find Richarlison in behind, and Richie's got to be doing better from that moment in time. And I just felt like he was the only one that looked like any sort of threat in our forward line. So I gave him a 7.
Yeah, our brightest attacker for sure. I think he was the one who looked like if anything was going to happen, it was going to go through him. And he was looking threatening down that left-hand side. I do think they were struggling to contain him at times. But he'll be a bit disappointed with some of his execution of shots and passes, which he could have done a bit better with. And as well, once he moved up front, his game was pretty much over at that point. He didn't really do much for the final 20 minutes. So that was unfortunate. But I think once he was on the left wing, pretty decent.
Yeah. Odebear up next. 6s all round for Odebear. Obviously gets the goal. Really nice finish. But apart from that, I felt like we were just consistently going down the left. And Odebear was pretty much isolated and didn't see much of the ball on that right-hand side. So all he did was pretty much put the ball in the back of the net.
But I did feel like when he did get the ball, didn't do enough with it. But I guess he was few and far between. I didn't think he looked as threatening down that side as Tell did. And good luck, well taken goal. Credit to him. And obviously that's his first Premier League goal for Tottenham. So fair play and nice finish. But he did lack a lot of threat down that right-hand side, I felt. Could have done more.
Did he go off Odebear? No, he didn't go off.
No, he stayed on.
He stayed on, right? So he stayed on for 90 minutes. Tell stayed on for 90 minutes. Tell had 53 touches in the game. Odebear had 17. That just shows you, like, we just basically never went down that right-hand side. And Richarlison, last but not least, in the starting lineup, 5s all round for Richie. Yeah, like he put in a bit of an aggressive display. He had 2 West Ham defenders on him pretty much at all times, and he was just like battling with Todibo and Kilburn. The rare chances that he got on goal didn't cover himself in much glory. Yeah, I mean, the only thing he did do in a positive light was firstly show some good aggressivity in terms of battling with the 2 West Ham defenders, but it was a nice maybe step over for the goal that we scored. That's about all I can say.
I don't think it was a step over, just kind of didn't get played to him. But I think, look, he battled well with the defenders, and he was one thing he was good at is instead of being bullied, he was kind of winning fouls, which, you know, is positive, and it was making sure that we didn't give up possession. Whereas I feel sometimes Solanke doesn't win the foul and he'll just get shoved off the ball, and at least Richarlison was winning the foul. Yeah, the chance he had in the first half, he just drags it well wide. Should be doing better with that one. He had another shot. I think Tell pulled it back for him, and his shot on his left foot was a tough one, but it just went well over the bar. Wasn't a great effort. I think he had another one in the second half, which he blazed over as well from the edge of the box, which should have done probably a bit better with. So he did have a number of efforts, but I can't really say, apart from maybe the one in the first half, none of them will expect him to score.
He had 2 shots on the day.
2 shots.
It, yeah.
So, yeah, it was. I guess they counted the one as a pass then, not a shot.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he battled well. Put his all for the team, but unfortunately just wasn't great quality on the day.
Yeah, and the only change that we did make was Richarlison for Moore with 20 minutes to go, and Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Definitely looked like a live wire down that left-hand side. Definitely got bums off seats in the stadium probably. And I thought this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see more off the left. We wanted to see him probably start the game, and he was exciting. Not going to lie, he was exciting, breezing past Paqueta at times, got past Souček, a real handful on the day without really too much quality at the end of them, and really nice link-up play with Spence. So it was really good to see Mikey.
Yeah, I think he did give us a bit of a spark when he came on, especially his link-up with Spence was getting a lot of joy down that side with that link-up with Spence getting to the byline and getting good moments. I think he came on, it looked like a little bit of quality he added. He was, you know, winning some fouls. He was playing some little good passes into midfield and with the fullback. So there was some good stuff there from Mikey. I think he was a bright spot. Still, you know, would like to see more from him, but I think, you know, considering the circumstances, it was a bright cameo.
Give me more. Give me more. And I really hope now, from now until the end of the season, these last 3 Premier League games that we have, that we see more of him. We have to. And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou. 5s all round for Ange. I mean, it's hard to really say much about Ange in this game because makes a host of changes. The game really doesn't mean much. The players played like it doesn't really mean much.
Any criticism for not making more subs?
Not really, to be honest, because I felt like with the players that we have on the bench, we just need to wrap them in cotton wool for the game on Thursday. So I was pretty much happy with not too many changes. I was happy to see Mikey Moore as well. My only real criticism is not seeing more of Moore, really. But look, it was a game that meant not much. It felt like that from in the studio. You said it felt like that from in the stands. It looked like that from the players playing on the pitch. And look, it was just a nothing game, and Ange didn't really get the players up for it either. So, I mean, what can you really say?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess regardless of the situation, it's his job to do that. And if he doesn't do that and they're not able to, then that's a criticism regardless of the fact it's understandable. That's still his job to do it, isn't it? So you can't do anything but mark him down for the fact that he couldn't get the team up for this game, and especially it being a bit of a derby. But we didn't lose, I guess, and I think the result was probably a fair result, so we didn't deserve to lose it either. But it was just a terrible game against a terrible opponent, who one of the few teams in the league currently on worse form than us. So, yeah, I mean, what can we say? It wasn't a great game.
I guess the one other change I would have made is probably to see Ajayi, because Ajayi was on the bench for the first time since probably the Elfsborg game. And it would have been nice to see him, but yeah, that's about it, really. So that is our player ratings from the game against West Ham. And we have got a super chat from Andrew Din, and he says, unpopular opinion, no Maddison, no Bergvall, and should switch to the back three on Thursday. Our current available squad would fit back three better, stronger on defense, a fit Porro / a doggy to create the attacks. Would you switch to a back three?
I like the thinking. I like the thinking.
So if it's a back three, obviously Danso, Romero, Van der Ven, Porro, a doggy, who in midfield, Bentancur, Bissouma.
There's no Decky essentially. You'd probably have John. Well, there could be Decky in the front three, or Decky, Solanke, Tell or Richarlison on the left.
Yeah,
I like the thinking. The only thing is the back three went so disastrously last time that do you want to risk it again?
Disastrous one game doesn't mean it's going to be disastrous in the next.
But I'm just saying, if he does do it, and it does go disastrously, he'll get absolute pillars.
Yeah, but I guess if it goes disastrous in any formation that he plays, he's going to get pelters.
No, I get that, but you wouldn't blame the formation, though, would you, if he kept it? But you would if he didn't. If he went to a back three, you'd blame the fact he went to a back three.
Yeah, it's true.
Look, but I do like the idea, and I think there's no reason why it couldn't work. I think it could work, and maybe that is the best way, but you'd have to make sure you're getting Porro further forward in those positions where him matters it is.
Then he should be.
Yeah.
The problem is with that is that you're not going to see Porro inverted, and like when you get him in those central areas to ping the ball over the top, that's where like he's probably at his best.
But Maddison won't be making the runs.
That's also true.
So need someone else. But I think maybe it's something we can switch to during the game. I probably wouldn't, just out of caution, I just wouldn't start it because the players just aren't used to it. So, but I maybe during the game, I'd give it a go if we need to.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I don't think he'll do it. I think he'll just go to the usual formation. And I think the team pretty much picks itself on Thursday, to be honest, with the injuries that we have. You're looking at Vicario in goal, Porro, Udogie, Van der Ven, Romero, Bentancur, Bissouma, Kulusevski, Johnson, Richarlison, Solanke. I think that's going to be the starting lineup.
The only thing I'd probably do is maybe I wouldn't start Richarlison and Solanke, just not because I don't think it's one that works, but I think it's better to have one of them on the bench just so we can swap them during the game, so we don't lose that focal point at some point, because I think we suffered for it against them last week. We suffered for it yesterday, and I think unless one of them is going to play 90 minutes, I would rather have a fresh Solanke or a fresh Richarlison to come off the bench and basically keep that focal point rather than starting on the left. And it means that there's a good chance we won't have a focal point for a bit of the game.
Yeah. I mean, if it was up to me, I probably would start Tell, because I think Tell's look bright, and I feel like Richarlison, when he starts on the left-hand side, as much as he can get into the box and win those headers and be aggressive at that point, he doesn't offer too much of a threat in terms of down that wing. And I think we're going to need it. Anyway, let's move on let's see how the internet did react to the memorable 1-1 draw at the London Stadium. And first up, what have we got? We have got Jack Pitbrook saying, was yesterday the most meaningless game in the long history of West Ham v Tottenham?
What do we think?
I mean, it's definitely up there, that's for sure.
Can you think of a more meaningless game than yesterday's West Ham versus Tottenham derby?
I can't,
Anyone in the chat, can anyone come up with a more meaningless game?
I mean, the pre-season.
Even that had more meaning on it, I think. Yeah, honestly.
Well, the pre-season was Ange's first game in charge, wasn't it?
The only one you could say is maybe when you can't really say it because it was the one when they beat us at our stadium, but we had the Champions League to kind of contend with. But that was like our first London derby at the new stadium. So
I guess it's very similar to this one, isn't it then? Because we've got the Europa League contenders.
Yeah, I guess you could compare that maybe. Apart from that, yeah, it's tough to really find one.
Is that the one where Antonio was humping the post? That one. Next up is Harry Kane putting up a video yesterday saying we are the champions, and this is him and Eric Dier and the rest of the crew singing we are the champions. Harry Kane finally getting his hands on his first trophy of the career.
You reckon he wore a white jumper just to pay homage
100%,
to Spurs?
100%. But here's the question. Would Harry Kane prefer to win this trophy with Bayern Munich or the Europa League with Spurs?
He looks pretty happy. That's all I'm thinking. Of course, he'd rather win Europa. Look, come on. You know what? You think we should get a little loan
What would
deal?
be bigger for him?
What, a league title or Bayern or Europa League with Spurs? Probably Europa League, surely. That probably should be bigger because everyone's going to win it. Everyone expects you to win a league title with Bayern. Like, I know they didn't last season, but this season it was back to normal, wasn't it? Back normal service resumed. So as much as
they were trying not to win it with that last game at Leipzig, he was in the stands.
Yeah.
He was ready. He came down for the trophy, for the celebrations, and then as soon as he got down to the touchline, they conceded.
What were in terms of your feelings surrounding Kane winning his first ever trophy away from Tottenham? Is there a happy for him or annoyed that it's not at Tottenham? Or
well, he put out a tweet saying champions with a red and white emoji yesterday, because obviously those are the Bayern colours, and Ashley goes to me in the car as we were on the way to the thing last night being like, oh, that must kill you, and I'm like, nah, not at all. I'm so happy for the guy. Like, we couldn't match his ambitions. That was the reality. He didn't leave because he was dying to get out of the club because of, he wanted to leave Tottenham. He wanted to leave Tottenham because we can't match his ambitions. And I thought it's fair enough. Like, when Kane left, I wasn't like bitter about it. I kind of, it was like more of an acceptance. Like, look, Levy has put us in this situation that Kane feels like he has to leave. That's the reality here. So I'm more than happy for Harry Kane. I'm actually delighted for Kane that he's won a trophy at Bayern Munich.
Yeah, he deserves it. And, a player of his quality to not have a trophy is madness.
Yeah.
Especially at 31, considering he's one of the best strikers in Europe. So, well, you could even call him the best striker in Europe. So the fact that it was a disgrace that he never won anything at Tottenham. It was a disgrace to win all those years, challenging but never getting over the line, and he would put so much in for the team and he was so good for us. So as much as it's painful that it's not us, I'm still delighted for him that he's finally got that monkey off his back. He's got that trophy. No one can really throw that accusation at him anymore. And now whatever, in my opinion, it was stupid anyway for people to hold that against him because it's a team sport at the end of the day. But now you can't. It was like the whole you can't call Messi the GOAT until he's won the World Cup. I thought that was stupid anyway. But now that's out of the way, he'll be happy. I think people maybe he'll start to get into Ballon d'Or conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted Bayern to go and win the Champions League this year. So, because if Bayern won the Champions League this year with the amount of goals Harry Kane has scored, he would be up there for the Ballon d'Or for sure. But you're not winning the Ballon d'Or just by winning a Bundesliga. No,
for sure. But hopefully he'll, he'll start getting more respect, the respect he deserves.
Yeah, for sure. And, Eric Dier also won.
I felt like, to be honest, I felt ever since he's left Tottenham, he's starting to get it anyway. Just the fact that he's at Bayern rather than Tottenham, he's starting to get a bit more respect. I feel that. But now he's got that trophy. I'm delighted for him.
Eric Dier as well, winning that trophy, winning the Bundesliga. And he's actually been really important for them in the last week or so.
He has.
And I've been seeing on social media, Bayern fans, quite upset that Dier's leaving. They've been loving him over these last couple of years. He's going to Monaco, which I think has been a confirmed deal next season.
He's got 3 goals in his last 4 games.
Yeah, I know. So, look, big up to Eric Dier as well.
Fair play to him, fair play.
Next up is Harry Kane just put out a tweet with a trophy emblem.
You should have done the ear cup as well. Missing him out. But fair play, I think with all the shit he's taken, you should stick it back to a few of these fans.
Yeah, 100%. No context. Tottenham putting out this meme with Harry Kane. That was the goal at Brighton when he kicked the bottle of Coke, but now he's kicking Tottenham's trophy cabinet. But it's just the way things work out, right? Harry Kane winning his first trophy in a year that Spurs could potentially break their trophy duck as well.
I know, that'd be quite fun if we do it. Maybe it's written in the stars, Kane winning the first trophy, then maybe Son and Tottenham will as well.
Yeah. Tottenham independent transfer stories say that couldn't be happier to see our beloved former players and talisman celebrate their first trophy of their careers. Do you reckon with Eric Dier, we did overstate how bad maybe he is? Because the way we kind of treated him as a fan base was quite disgraceful.
I mean, how many times have we done it though? Like Trippier, we did it for him and he was brilliant when he left us, won the league with Atletico, was brilliant with Newcastle. Like every player that we seem to think is trash and hound out the club turned out to not be so bad.
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of the time. So look, maybe we probably did overegg it a bit with Dier. I think it's fair to say the fact that he's gone to Bayern and been perfectly fine, and he's been quite good actually in some instances. I mean, I think there's a reason he is leaving, because I think they know they could do better. But he's been a lot better than he was at Tottenham, that's for sure. Definitely wasn't right for Ange, I think, overall.
But under Conte, he did really well.
Yeah, I think it was I would say it's mixed. I'd say the first 6 months he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. And then for the next year, not just him, I think a lot of the team, but it was, bit up and down, some really good performances and some not so good performances. Obviously under Jose wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
Obviously under Poch was brilliant up until he had some injury problems, and then he had that stomach problem or something which held him back a bit. But yeah, look, he's proven a lot of people wrong at Bayern, in terms of people thought he was this terrible defender who, you just can't use, and he's been great. Credit to him.
Mike Warmington in the comments says also it's Ryan Sessegnon. He's having a bit of a renaissance at Fulham. I mean, he seems to be playing well week in, week out, Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is with this club. I don't know if it drives us crazy, or players generally can't perform here and they go off to other places and do really well. But it's definitely...
Everyone that leaves Tottenham goes and wins a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. Even the likes of like Brian Hill and Nuno Espirito Santo and all these kind of people. Everyone that leaves Tottenham that you can think of in the last 5-10 years or whatever it is, go and win trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we think they're trash or good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But fair play to Dier. Do you reckon any chance for England call up now Tuchel's there?
I think there's more of a chance now than there was before, for sure. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. Fabrizio Romano saying Harry Kane wins his first major trophy. Billy T says, if your life relied on Basuma hitting the target from outside the area, which family member are you saying goodbye to first?
Yeah, honestly, he had some terrible efforts on goal yesterday. Following on from some really bad efforts against Bodo as well. Who's better at shooting, him or Stefan Freund? Who do you think?
Him, for sure.
Still Basuma.
He scored some bangers this season, Basuma.
Yeah,
he scored one against Everton.
One against Everton. Another one? He scored another one? Just the Everton one, wasn't it?
Just the Everton one.
It was a great goal, though.
He scored a few goals.
No, one against West Ham.
Oh, that
he
was
scored one against, well, not quite a banger, but it was a good goal.
Fabrizio Romano saying this was Harry Kane's post on Instagram just after winning his major trophy, which he did the same on X. Spurs Global saying Stoke fans clearly loved Ashley Phillips, as they're saying 10 more years, Ashley Phillips, following their survival from the Championship.
Fair play. And big up to Ashley, who's apparently been on great form recently. So credit to him, and clearly they love him there. Look at that, him going over to the away fans. Clearly built up a bit of a rapport there. So I wonder if he'll stay there next season, or what the plans are. But clearly... if it's a sign that if you go there to a lone club and you create such a special connection and they love you there, shows how well he's done. And also, especially in a season when they've nearly been relegated.
Yeah, and also with Ashley Phillips, right? For the age that he is, he's played a hell of a lot of professional football. Like a hell of a lot. He's got so much experience behind his belt in terms of Championship football. Maybe it is time for him to step up.
Yeah, so he's played for Blackburn, Plymouth, and now Stoke.
Yeah, over the past 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's a fair play to him.
Football Confidential saying Harry Words had just 4 words to scream, and that is "We are the champions." And his celebrations is just like, you just know, like a whole weight has just been lifted off his shoulders.
Absolutely. And look, he's gone there to be a winner, and it's exactly what he's become. So he did the job done, I think, for Harry. But does that mean is the job done at Bayern now, ready to come back to the Prem, or still stuff to be won?
He said he got that release clause in his contract for this summer. Spurs got first refusal.
You got that trophy. It's time to come back.
Come home, Harry. Come on,
Harry.
It's time. Football Confidential. This is for you lip readers out there. This was Ange on the sidelines at West Ham yesterday. He says, Big Ange shouting at his Spurs players from the sidelines. Any lip readers out there? So what is Ange shouting at his team?
Yeah, I'm looking. You can't really hear it. Get tight, I think. Yeah, get tight. He's saying get tight. It's maybe bemoaning our lazy pressing.
Yeah. George Sestron says, and if Maddison is a bad one like Bergvall, it's just like the UEFA Cup run, even more so in 1984. Spurs were without Glenn Hoddle for the semi-final, and two-legged final, as well as Ray Clement and others. This is just the Tottenham way.
Nice, it's written in the stars. Get some more injuries.
To be fair, on the way to the Champions League final without Harry Kane.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely right about that. We had some, and also didn't we have to play? We had to play Wanyama in midfield for a lot of it.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah, especially the City game. I remember we had to play Wanyama because we had injuries. So it definitely was a team a bit cobbled together in that Champions League run for sure. I remember.
Yeah. Spurs Web says, delighted for Kane and Dier on a personal level. However, the fact they had to leave Tottenham to win trophies elsewhere, considering reluctance to improve the quality of the squad by the board during the Poch era, is a massive failure. And that's pretty much what I was saying before.
Yeah. So fair play to them, but I think it just says a lot about the fact that we're delighted for them. We should be angry at them. We just can't be, because we know about this club. You know, in any other situation, you're probably pissed off at these guys going off to win trophies at other places. But I think because we know the context, I think it's hard not to be happy for them.
Yeah, and also like Kane, it's hard to be mad at Kane. Like, he's such a club legend, top goal scorer of all time. Like, what's there to be angry about? Last word on Spurs. This was Richard Keys and Andy Gray debate whether Tottenham and Man United should be rewarded a Champions League spot if they win the Europa League. And they said it's ridiculous. If you win this tournament, you should qualify to play in it next year, no more. And they had Arsene Wenger on the show as well, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying it's ridiculous that if you win the Europa League, you get a spot in the Champions League. I mean, why have we never heard this before this season?
Only because Tottenham are involved all of a sudden. And I get it. It's because we are doing so badly in the league. That's why the conversation. Like, if we were in, sixth place, I don't think anyone's having this conversation. But look, at the end of the day, it's a major European trophy. If you go and win the whole thing, it gives the competition, makes it a bigger competition, and gives more to play for. And I think it's right. If you win that competition, you should get promoted to, because you've already won that competition. So the reward for that is you go to the Champions League. I don't see the big problem. You're winning a European competition. Like, if you win the Conference League, what's the point of just going back in it? You've won it. So your reward for winning it is you go into the Europa League, you go up a division. So I think it should be that way.
And I'm seeing as well, like, the Arsenal fan base, ever since they lost to PSG in the first leg, are non-stop with this. They're literally non-stop with it. They keep saying, like, how can Tottenham or Manchester United go to the Champions League if they win the Europa League? I don't know what it is. Is it they're bitter because they feel like they're not going to win the Champions League anymore? Like, they're just non-stop with this kind of debate, saying there should, like, it's an absolute disgrace that Spurs or Man United can be playing Champions League football next season if they finish 15th or 16th in the league.
If you win the Europa League, you deserve it. It's not, whatever you want to say about the competition. I know there's no Champions League dropouts, but it's still not an easy competition to win. There are some good teams in there. And you have to be decent you have to be a pretty good team to win it.
Look, the reality is that the Europa League this year is not as hard as winning the Europa League in previous years because there's no Champions League dropouts. That is true, and that is the reality.
Doesn't mean it's easy,
I think that's more of a flaw maybe with the way these tournaments are set up now. And I said to you a few weeks ago, like, the way to there's a big conversation, right? There's too much football being played right now, and they added 2 more games into the European competition with the new setup. And I do genuinely believe the way to counteract that is to make the tournament smaller and to increase the quality in both the Conference League and the Europa League. And that would be, 1 and 2 in the Champions League, 3 and 4 in the Europa League, and 5 and 6 in the Conference League. And that will up the quality of both those competitions. And also, on top of that, less football.
That's fine, but I'm just saying and maybe that would be a good way of setting up. But I'm just saying, you look at the teams in this tournament. Yes, there's some not very good teams, but there's also some very good teams. Bilbao are a very good team. They're 4th in La Liga. You got Frankfurt 3rd in the Bundesliga. Lazio for a lot of the season were in the top 5 of Serie A. I think they dropped out now, but obviously they finished in the top 5 to get here. So like it's not like it's just rubbish teams. There are some very good teams that you have to beat to win this tournament. I heard Robbie say if BODO were in the Premier League, they'd be relegated.
That's rubbish.
I think it's absolute nonsense. He's just ignorant at that point. He doesn't know about what the team they are. He just looks at where they are. He looks at where they play and how big their stadium is, and he's basically got this he's got this kind of superiority complex of, look how rubbish they are, look where they play. He has no idea about them.
He's saying basically if Ipswich, Southampton or Leicester, he thinks they can go and beat Lazio over 2 legs. He thinks they can go and beat Roma, and he thinks all this kind of stuff. Like,
he doesn't know about their home form. He doesn't know about what a team they are. So BODO are a very good team. They've proven it in Europe over many years. This isn't a fluke season. Over many years, they've been in Europe and done quite well and gotten big results. So look, I'm not sitting here saying they'll be challenging for Europe in the Premier League. They probably wouldn't be, but they will not be relegated. No chance.
They'll be like a mid-table side, in my opinion,
for sure. They'll
finish above where Spurs finished this year. That's
probably,
sure.
Yeah. Well, Arsenal will probably lose in BODO if they played.
I think they played there a few years ago. They won.
They won. Oh, I got lucky. They got lucky.
I think they battered them actually. But look, I think this whole narrative is such garbage. It really is. Like, as soon as Spurs are close to doing anything, then all the gooners come out the woodworks and start talking, oh, it's an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace.
And also, Arsenal went out to Olympiacos in the Europa League. It's not like they got beaten by, like, the best teams. It's not like it's only because they only lost because they were Champions League dropouts. No.
And I guarantee you, when they were in the Europa League final and we were in the Champions League final and they were finishing God knows where that season, I don't even know where they finished that season, they were saying, oh yeah, of course we deserve it. We deserve it. We're going to win the Europa League. Like, of course we deserve Champions League football.
Of course this conversation wouldn't have been had. It's just bitterness, and it comes from the fact that we might extend our European trophies over them.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we have THCC report this picture of Ange Postecoglou and Emerson Palmieri yesterday. I mean, how do these guys even know each other?
I was about to say, where is this relationship come from?
No idea. It looks like a pretty close relationship.
Do you have Celtic, Emerson? No. I don't think
Maybe
he played for one of his... what's his career been? Has he played anywhere?
Emerson, I think he's only played in like Italy before this, hasn't he?
I don't know. I don't know his whole career.
Santos, Palmero, Roma, Chelsea, Lyon, West Ham. There's nothing that he would never have crossed paths with Ange in any of these.
Well, for some reason or another, they seem very close. They're like a father and a son there.
It really is. It's just like, I don't get where this relationship comes from.
No idea. Maybe we tried to sign him or something. I don't know.
I don't know. And last but not least, it's just a nice little hug there to leave you on with Eric Dier and Harry Kane. The Tottenham curse is over.
And there's a cake there. I wonder if it says there's a trophy or something.
Yeah, probably.
I know. I think it's, if I zoom in on that cake, I think it's the circle
the shield. Yeah.
Shield, I think. That's what it looks like to me. Nice little cake. Well, congratulations to Harry and Eric. Fair play.
Big up to these boys. And that is that from us today, I guess. We'll be back tomorrow with a panel show, and we'll see you then in a big, big week for Tottenham Hotspur. Biggest game since the second leg of Ajax, really, this week. So this is literally it this week, the moment that we've been gearing up for, the reason that we've been, well, I wouldn't say the reason because we were losing a lot of games before that, but the reason why it's been a bit more palatable losing these games. So this is it, people. Get excited because Spurs are in a European semi-final, second leg with a 2-goal buffer. But we'll see you all tomorrow, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.